Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The first thing I noticed that night wasn't the silence. It was the hum of the ceiling fan, steady, rhythmic, indifferent. Everything in the house was too calm for how wrong the night felt. The smell of Melissa's perfume still lingered faintly in the hallway, soft and floral, as if mocking the emptiness she'd left behind. I tried to focus on the TV, but my eyes kept drifting to the framed picture on the shelf. Her smile, my arm around her waist, that false image of forever. My fingers tapped against my glass, restless. She'd left that morning for another corporate trip, one of those events where spouses weren't invited because it's all just work dinners and presentations. Except this time, something fell off. She dressed different. New heels, a tight navy dress she claimed was for confidence, but her reflection in the mirror had said something else. A kind of nervous excitement glimmered in her eyes that wasn't for PowerPoint slides. I remembered kissing her cheek goodbye, the faint tremor in her voice when she said she'd miss me. At the time, I told myself I was overthinking. But now, hours later, with midnight creeping past and her absence echoing through every room, I couldn't ignore the unease anymore. I walked into the kitchen, poured another drink, and opened my laptop. I didn't know what I was looking for. Maybe distraction, maybe proof of what my gut already screamed. Melissa worked for a marketing firm, one that regularly put her up in expensive hotels under the guise of networking events. What she didn't know was that her company used the same national security software I'd helped design years ago. Every building, every hotel chain, connected through centralized data feeds I'd once maintained. Old habits die hard. I logged into the archived interface, entered her company ID, and waited. The screen flickered, and suddenly I was staring at the lobby of the Grandview Hotel in Chicago, clear as day. A man in a gray blazer passed by the camera, holding 2 glasses of wine. A moment later, Melissa followed. She was laughing, tilting her head back in a way she hadn't done with me in months. I froze the frame. There it was. Proof, not just suspicion. She'd always told me work trips were exhausting, that she hated them. But the woman in that footage didn't look tired. She looked alive. I zoomed in, and my stomach twisted. The man beside her wasn't just some colleague. It was Evan Hayes, the same regional director she'd once mentioned, the one who'd texted her late at night for campaign revisions. The same one she'd said was married. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen. I should have felt rage. I should have thrown the glass against the wall. But I didn't. Instead, I felt an eerie calm, a silence so heavy it pressed against my ribs. For years, I'd been the predictable husband. Safe, steady. The man who cooked her breakfast before she left for work, who remembered her favorite flowers, who forgave her long silences. But in that moment, watching her touch another man's arm like it was nothing, something inside me shifted. Love was gone. What replaced it was precision. I turned off the hotel feed, grabbed my phone, and opened our text thread. She'd messaged earlier about having a long dinner meeting. I typed something simple in reply, keeping my tone casual, harmless. Then I waited. 5 minutes later, she texted back, saying the hotel connection was bad, that she'd call when she could. I stared at her message for a long moment before responding with words that would turn her world upside down by morning. That's fine. I'm watching you from the same connection you said was bad. I hit send. Watched the delivered check turn blue. Then silence. Her typing bubble appeared once, twice, then vanished. Seconds later, my phone started buzzing. 1 call, 2 5 10. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because the best revenge doesn't come from screaming or breaking things. It comes from patience. From letting the guilty sit in their own silence, wondering what you've seen, what you know, and what you'll do next. As her calls kept flooding in, I walked out to the backyard and looked up at the sky. The moon hung low, sharp against the dark, like a witness. Melissa Carter had no idea who she'd really married. I wasn't the quiet husband she thought I was. I was the man who built the digital walls she just tried to lie through. And by the time she got home, she'd realize her story wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. Because I wasn't just going to expose her lie. I was going to make her live in it. Sleep didn't visit that night. Not even close. I sat in the living room until dawn, the blue light of my laptop reflecting off half-empty coffee cups. Every few minutes, my phone buzzed again. Missed call, Melissa Carter. Each one went unanswered. I wanted her to stew in it, to wonder just how much I knew. When the sun began to rise, I walked to the garage and started my day like any other. Routine had always been my shield. The rhythmic clatter of tools, the faint scent of oil, the mechanical hum, it all grounded me. To anyone passing by, I looked like a man fixing a carburetor, not one dismantling a marriage. But inside, every motion was part of a plan. Melissa's car was still in the driveway. I remember how she insisted I drive her to the airport. No point paying for parking. At the time, it felt sweet, normal. Now it felt like a setup, a way to control my perception. But what she didn't realize was that she'd left behind more than her car. She'd left her backup phone charger plugged into the kitchen outlet. And next to it, her tablet. I opened it. No passcode. She'd always said, "You can check anything. Nothing to hide." The irony was almost cruel. Emails, photos, hotel receipts, all there. But one thread caught my attention, a message chain with Evan Hayes. The same man from the hotel camera. They'd been talking for months, disguised under code names that weren't clever enough. Project meetings meant hotel visits. Marketing reviews meant dinner dates. My chest burned with quiet fury, not because of what they did, but because of how ordinary they made it. No guilt, no hesitation, just comfort in their betrayal. But I wasn't going to confront her with shouting or tears. No, that would only give her closure. I wanted reflection, exposure, something that would make her see what she destroyed. So I got to work. By noon, I duplicated her entire message history and transferred it to a private folder, encrypted but ready to use. Then I called her office pretending to be a logistics consultant needing to confirm a shipment number. The receptionist, friendly and unguarded, mentioned that Melissa was presenting a major client campaign next week in front of the board. The same board that valued loyalty and professionalism above all. Perfect. I spent the rest of the day building something she couldn't run from, a digital presentation that mirrored her upcoming one, but with one critical twist. Instead of marketing slides, hers would open with a sequence of hotel timestamps, payment records, and camera stills, each one authenticated, undeniable. But that wasn't the end goal. I didn't want to ruin her career completely. I wanted her to see herself through everyone else's eyes, to realize how easily she traded her reputation for a few stolen nights. Around 6 in the evening, my phone buzzed again, this time a text. "Please, Liam, we need to talk. You don't understand." I stared at it for a long second. The audacity of that sentence made me laugh quietly. "You don't understand." As if betrayal needed a translator. "No, Melissa," I typed. "I understand perfectly." I didn't hit send. Not yet. I deleted it and instead wrote something softer, colder. "Dinner's in the fridge. Eat when you get home." That would terrify her more than anger ever could. Calm is unpredictable. Calm makes liars panic. At 9 p.m., her car pulled into the driveway. I didn't move from my chair. I heard her footsteps in the hallway, slow, tentative. She peeked into the living room, eyes red, makeup smudged. "Liam," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Can we please talk?" I didn't look up. About what? The Wi-Fi connection. Her lip trembled. "It wasn't what you think. It was just dinner. He's helping me with a promotion." I finally looked at her then, really looked. "Helping you?" "By holding your hand across the table." Her face drained of color. "You saw. I built the system that caught you," I said quietly. "You forget what I do for a living." She covered her mouth, stepping back like the truth itself burned. Tears rolled freely now. "Liam, please. I messed up. I don't even know why." "Stop." My voice wasn't loud, but it made her freeze. "You know why. Because you thought you'd never get caught." She sank onto the couch, shaking. "I'll end it. I'll fix this. Just tell me what to do." For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. Then I remembered every lie, every fake goodnight, every smile that belonged to someone else. "You'll do exactly what you always do," I said, standing. "Go to work. Pretend nothing happened. Smile for your boss. But next week, when you open that presentation in front of your entire board, you'll finally see what honesty looks like." Her eyes widened. "What did you do?" I didn't answer. I walked past her, leaving her trembling in the half-lit room, her perfume lingering like guilt. Outside, the night air was cool, cleansing. I looked up at the same quiet sky I'd stared at the night before. Only this time, I wasn't the broken husband sitting in the dark. I was the storm she didn't see coming. The following week arrived quietly, like a calm before a controlled storm. Melissa had spent the days leading up to it walking on eggshells, barely speaking to me, barely eating, eyes swollen from nights of silent crying. I said nothing. I didn't need to. Silence had become my greatest weapon. She still believed she could fix it, that somehow a few apologies and tears could erase what I saw. But I wasn't angry anymore. Anger had burned out days ago. What remained was purpose, cold, deliberate, and sharp as glass. Her firm's quarterly board meeting was scheduled for Friday morning at the downtown corporate tower. It was her biggest pitch yet, months of preparation leading to one moment that could make or break her career, and she was walking into it blind. That morning, she dressed carefully, her hands trembling as she buttoned her blouse. I stood by the kitchen counter, sipping my coffee, pretending to read the paper. "You're going in early?" I asked casually. "Yeah," she said softly, voice barely holding together. "I need to run over my presentation again before the directors arrive." I nodded, giving her a small, unreadable smile. "You'll do fine." She looked at me for a long moment, as if trying to find the man she used to know beneath the calm surface. "Liam," she whispered, "you haven't said a word since that night. Please, I need to know if we're okay." I set down my cup slowly. "We're exactly where your choices left us." Her face crumpled, but she said nothing else. She grabbed her folder, forced a shaky smile, and walked out the door. As soon as her car disappeared down the street, I opened my laptop. On the screen was the link to the mirror drive that stored her presentation. I'd connected it remotely through a secure backup, an unnoticeable change she would never catch. The moment she plugged in her USB at the office, the version she thought she saved would be replaced with mine. It wasn't malicious. It was poetic. By noon, I sat in a cafe across the street from her company's tower. Through the glass wall, I could see the steady stream of suits entering the lobby. I checked the clock. 10 minutes until her presentation. The waiter asked if I needed anything else. I smiled faintly. Just a little patience. I sipped my coffee slowly, every minute stretching longer than the last. My heart wasn't racing. It was steady, grounded. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't doubting myself. Then, around 12:40, my phone buzzed. A message from one of my old colleagues who still handled the firm's network security. He owed me a favor. "Dude, you seeing this? Your wife's presentation just got nuked mid-meeting. They're all staring at her. It's bad." I exhaled, slow and deep. The storm had landed. Meanwhile, inside that glass-walled boardroom, Melissa Carter's world was unraveling. The presentation had started smoothly at first. She'd greeted the board with that confident smile she'd spent years perfecting. Her voice steady, her tone rehearsed. "Good morning, everyone. Today, I'll be showcasing our campaign proposal for the Grandview Hotels partnership." But when she clicked the next slide, instead of market charts and client visuals, the screen went black for a second, then flashed a series of images. Hotel timestamps, restaurant footage, two people, her and Evan Hayes, seated close at a candlelit table. Laughter, touches, his hand over hers. Gasps filled the room. One director whispered, "What is this?" Another muttered her name in disbelief. Melissa froze, her body stiff as if her spine had turned to stone. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The screen shifted again, to receipts under her name, messages confirming meetings that weren't work-related. Then the title appeared in bold white letters across the final slide. "When personal ethics collapse, professional integrity follows." Silence. Heavy and absolute. Her boss, a graying man in a navy suit, turned slowly toward her. "Melissa," he said carefully, "do you have an explanation for this?" Her pulse thundered in her ears. She tried to speak, but her throat refused to work. Tears welled up as her mind raced for words, for lies that might soften the blow. None came. The IT manager rushed forward to shut down the projector, but the damage was done. Every face in that room had seen it. The real Melissa Carter, stripped of pretense. She gathered her notes with trembling hands, her vision blurring. I don't understand what happened," she whispered, her voice breaking. The room stayed silent. And somewhere across the street, I watched her step out of the building 15 minutes later. Her posture no longer confident, her head bowed. She looked like a ghost of the woman I once married. I didn't cheer. I didn't smile. I simply sat there, finishing the last sip of my coffee, the bitterness grounding me. For years, I've been the kind of husband who believed love meant forgiveness. But I realized too late that blind forgiveness only teaches someone how to betray you again. Melissa wasn't just exposed to her company. She was exposed to herself. Every lie she'd built had collapsed in front of people whose respect she valued more than mine. I stood, left a few bills on the table, and stepped out into the city noise. The air felt lighter somehow. Not happy, not free, but lighter. Across the street, she spotted me. For a brief second, our eyes met. Hers were wet, desperate, pleading. She started to move toward me, but I shook my head once, slow, final, and turned away. That was the end of her story with me, but not yet the end of mine. Because revenge wasn't about destruction, it was about awakening. And she had just learned what truth looks like when it stops pretending to love you. It was almost dark when Melissa finally came home. The sound of her car door closing echoed through the quiet street. I didn't move. I sat in the living room, same spot as always, the TV flickering low, but my attention fixed on the reflection in the window. When the front door opened, I saw her silhouette hesitate, like she was afraid of what waited on the other side. She stepped inside slowly, clutching her purse like it could protect her. Her voice was small, cracked. "Liam, we need to talk." I didn't answer. I just muted the TV and waited. She walked closer, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup gone, her composure shattered. "They fired me," she whispered. "Everything's gone. My career, my reputation." She took a shaky breath. "I know you did it. Please just tell me why." I finally looked at her, meeting her tear-streaked face with calm eyes. "You want to know why?" My voice was steady. "Because I wanted you to feel what I felt. Every night you lied. Every morning you smiled like nothing was wrong." Her shoulders trembled. "Liam, I made a mistake. I was stupid. I was lonely. No," I interrupted quietly. "You were selfish." She winced like I'd struck her. "I didn't mean to hurt you. People always say that after they do," I said. "You didn't just hurt me, Melissa. You broke the part of me that used to believe you." Her lip quivered. "So this is it. You just ruined me and walk away." I stood, setting my glass down gently. "No, I don't need to ruin you. You already did that yourself. I just turned the lights on so you could see the mess." She sank to the couch, burying her face in her hands. For a moment, I almost pitied her, the way she shook, the way her pride finally cracked into something human. But pity was just another trap. I'd lived inside it for too long. "I loved you," she whispered through her fingers. "I swear I did." I nodded once. "I know, and I loved you too. But love without honesty isn't love. It's theater." Silence stretched between us, heavy but final. Outside, the wind rattled the windows slightly, and somewhere down the street, a dog barked. Life kept moving, indifferent to our ruins. She looked up again, eyes pleading. "Can we start over? Please, Liam. I'll do anything to fix this." I shook my head slowly. "There's nothing left to fix. I don't hate you, but I can't share a house with ghosts." Her tears fell harder. "So what now?" "I've already packed my things," I said quietly. "You'll keep the house. The accounts will be split." I left the lawyer's details on the counter. She stared at me, disbelief mixing with despair. "You're really walking away?" "I'm finally walking away," I corrected. I moved toward the door, but she reached out instinctively, her fingers brushing my sleeve. "Please, Liam, don't go like this." I looked down at her hand, the same hand that once promised forever, now trembling like a child's. Gently, I took it and set it aside. "You had your chance to hold on to me," I said softly. "You let go first." When I stepped outside, the air was cool and still. The night carried that strange quiet that follows after a storm, when everything feels cleaner, but somehow lonelier too. I didn't look back. Not once. As I reached the car, my phone buzzed. Another message from her. I didn't open it. Some endings don't need words. I started the engine, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. Not joy, not triumph, just peace. Because revenge wasn't about destroying her life. It was about reclaiming mine. And as the city lights faded behind me, I realized something simple yet freeing. Sometimes closure doesn't come with forgiveness. It comes with distance.